Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon Podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon Podcast. My guest today, Dr. Anish Mohammed, co-founder of Panther Protocol. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
The doctor's in the house. I love it when I can say there's a doctor on the podcast. So before we delve into Panther Protocol, what made you get into crypto, right? Where was your entry point? Obviously, you can see you're a doctor, so there's some education, there's some higher education in it. But what first of all started this journey for you?
Oh, that's a very silly story. If I tell you the story, you're going to laugh your head off.
No, please.
A very long while back, a gentleman, he used to write puzzles for various magazines, mostly New Scientist and Martin Gardner, to be more precise, and Scientific American. And I was born in India. My dad used to subscribe to a magazine called Science Today.
Okay.
And after RSA was published, there was a challenge called RSA 129. Mm-hmm. And you have to take it into consideration that I was a kid, 10, 11, 12 years old. Okay. And I used to normally solve these things. And then there was this thing, the challenge was posted. It said, you get $100 if you solve this.
Oh, and money.
Look, you normally look at, you're a kid, $100 in India means a lot of money. And you look at this and go, this is really interesting. I should be able to solve this. And, that's where the start of the journey started. Then,
Were you good in maths? Were you good in maths at school?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty
so
good.
You had to be.
Yeah. So then my journey went a long way around. So my parents wanted me to go to med school. So as you probably recognize, I was way ahead of my age in my ability to do math and other things. So my dad didn't want me to go to engineering school. So he was like the deputy director for technical education for my state. So I went to med school. When I finished med school, I said, you know what? I am done with this BS. Then I went and worked on micropayment systems for Ericsson in Sweden. And in between, I got into, cryptography because I was always interested in cryptography.
Yes.
Then I got into the cryptography mailing list. And somewhere along the lines in between, I went to grad school to do cryptography. So that's another piece. So, 2013, officially, 2011, 2012, I was involved a bit. I ran into Amir and along with him, we ran a, mining workshop for people to mine Bitcoin.
Yes.
2013, I ran into Ripple guys. They asked me if I'd be an advisor. I agreed to be an advisor. In 2014, 2015, I ran into all the usual suspects. I knew Stefan Toll, I knew Vinay because I was involved in open source robotics. He used to do Hexia, so I knew him. Then Victor Tron came to a couple of my talks. So Victor asked me if I would help him.
Like this.
Yeah. And then I joined the Ethereum Swarm team. I was one of the reviewers of that. Then from then on, things happened. I knew Trent, he was a friend of mine. Again, my interest in machine learning. I knew him from his machine learning days, my machine learning days. Yes. And he did Ocean Protocol. I worked on it as an advisor and a friend of his. Until I got into a lot into ZK, and that's what we have Panther. That's a summary story.
I love it. No, it makes 100% sense in my head. But now I want to ask you, I can call you dual majors, crypto OG, and I think you're in a good position to answer me why you think privacy is so crucial for the future of DeFi, because it's sort of it's the opposite of what we want. This new system, this open system, the system for everyone, but now but this issue of privacy.
So you would never ask anybody whether if they want to vote, whether they want privacy or not, right? You never ask that, right?
No.
And everybody believes in democracy. Everybody in the West believes in democracy.
Everybody in the West,
democracy.
Just clarify.
That's clarified, right? Quote unquote, right? So, and the next, obviously, right?
Yes.
Now the next bit, the next bit is like you can't have democracy without you have the privacy to put the votes on, right? We agree to both parts, right?
Yes.
Society as a whole requires privacy. And let's step sideways and look at what is happening in a public blockchain. A public blockchain, every transaction you do is publicly visible, right? If you want to do some research and you want to have a strategy and you want to deploy the strategy, you're not allowed in that sense because of a simple reason, because everybody sees it. I see that you're a good trader. I go to the graph, deploy a subgraph to track you down and have a smart contract to copy your trade. So all your research is gone.
Yes.
I can even front run you, right? I can even front run you. I take your strategy, run ahead of you, and you're done.
Yeah.
So the depth of the market disappears, all your effort disappears. So all we are saying is like, if we could actually have the same mechanisms that we have in the traditional markets. So for example, if you were to look at Renaissance Technologies, one of the hedge funds that returns between 30 to 40% year on year for the last 30 years, right? Simon recently passed away, but like his fund, right? And what they have been doing is essentially their strategy has been private. Why? They can have dark pools. Okay, we comply. Why can't we have dark pools? So, apples and apples, not like apples and monkeys.
Yes. But how do you balance that privacy with regulatory compliance? Because obviously, wherever privacy comes in, the government sort of wants to know.
Yeah, so I am very happy to describe the process in a loose sense. So when you come into a protocol like Panther, there's a class of protocol in that sense. They all have KYC upfront. What that means is, like, if you want to enter this garden, it's almost a walled garden perspective, right? Because the governments of the world actually want certain transactions to be managed, let's put it that way, right? So they want KYC to be done, right? So you have KYC providers from the traditional, who provide the services to traditional banks, being offered by Web3 native providers being used. So users come in, they get KYC, and then they go into the pools. So now you're KYC. Now, when you do your transactions, your KYT is attached to it, right? So effectively what is happening is, like, your transaction is being monitored in that sense by a bunch of smart contracts to enforce that you don't get into trouble, right? So you, if you were an institution, your risk of going to jail is close to zero, because if you are a director in the US and if you have an OFAC non-compliance, apparently the highest risk is like 20 years or something like that, which is ridiculous. But I haven't heard of any bankers who've actually gone to, like, I was a retail banker, I was in HSBC before I had crypto full time, right? So I can tell you, you probably know what happened in Mexico, right? HSBC in Mexico, Google it, right? So nobody, like, the funniest of the stories is, like, the head of technical risk is one of my Ph.D. mates. So I saw him in 2017, and I'm like, I haven't seen you in ages. Like, for like 10 plus years, I haven't seen him. He went to Mexico and they brought him back, right? So it's very interesting. Like, such things happen. But if you are in the world of crypto, you don't have enough of lobbying power. You don't have enough of backs that support you. So it's kind of tricky. So we are playing the game where we provide the ability for the user to provide what I describe as transcripts to IRS and HMRC and other people. So they could prove to the regulators or the tax authorities they are the people who do the transaction. And if the regulators actually want to get like full transcripts of the KYC process, they can just go to the KYC provider and the KYC provider would give them, hey, there you go. Right? So in theory, it ticks almost all the boxes. The only challenge you have is, like, you can't do what normally banks do, which is like, there is like before you do a transaction, you can do certain things. Layer ones don't work like that. Blockchains don't work like that. Because blockchains are decentralized and you can't actually prevent the transaction inside the chain. The only thing you can do is prevent people from, taking assets out of their accounts, right? So if you put assets into the thing, into a multi-associated pool, do a transaction, go to Uniswap and do a swap. And now when you're done, if you lose your KYC and you lose your KYT, the same way as bank would do it. Like if you were to do something and certain times you might lose your KYC. If that happens, when you go to the bank, they will say, you need to give us a bunch of contracts before we could actually release them. Essentially, all these details are to verify the KYC. Same kind of mechanism, loosely speaking. This is what, I envisage that regulators might be happy with. I'm not a regulator. I can't say anything about this, right?
Yes.
So I'm hopeful that this is the thing that the regulators would be happy with. We will be able to do.
Okay, so traditional banks, they operate on their own sort of rules and regulations, rules for these, not for me. I mean, okay, that's my statement. That's not saying you're saying it, I'm saying it. But do you think they're sort of open to these privacy enhancing blockchain technologies? Or
okay, so
yeah,
let's think this through in a very simple sense. What is going to happen to the banks? Okay, so banks, if you work for large banks, what you recognize is a lot of them still have very old mainframes with COBOL system. COBOL was a very low bank in the 60s and 70s, right? So they have a lot of infrastructure that's making the transactions very ineffective, inefficient.
2 to 3 days during not over a weekend. All of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so add this to the fact that open banking in Europe and UK would effectively mean that a newcomer could actually compete with you.
Yes.
And they don't have the legacy stuff, right?
Yes.
So now you're competing for per transaction cost, right? And now look at your per transaction cost and look at what you can actually achieve with an L2 on an L1 with the throughputs and almost equivalent, privacy policy, compliance, everything, reporting requirements, all of it, right? To me, that's like a simple, logical thing, right? Like, okay, there's also a very important thing that's also happening. So typically the banks have lots of data. They haven't really understood the value of data yet. And what is also happening is the fact that LLMs have really changed the game, right?
Okay.
And what this means is a new entrance to the game is going to, one of the biggest costs for most banks is to run large support centers or service centers.
Yes.
Given LLMs, you could, that's gone, right?
Is it stuff like call centers, cashiers, bankers, stuff like that? Like inquiries? Okay.
Yeah, all of that's going to disappear, right? So can you imagine a new startup turning out, put LLM on top, put, privacy preserving compliant, disclosure providing protocol on the back end, right?
Wow.
Job done.
Okay, well, really got no, you just blew my mind because it's like I can actually see that happening because jobs come and go. Those people will just go elsewhere. Innovation doesn't ask, what is
permission. Innovation doesn't ask permission. Market drives innovation drives the market, and market drives regulation, right? So to me, the way I think about it right now is in the next 3 years.
Okay.
Literally, a lot of the banks will have a huge amount of pressure because of the thing that just described, the LLM. So if you look behind me, you will see a pile of books on deep learning. You can't see them. All right. Okay.
I can see it. I can see it. There's a pile.
Okay. Yeah. So all of them are deep learning books and stuff like that. So I've been spending a lot of time trying to understand this, what is happening and where it's going. So I've been involved in cloud 2007 onward, so I'm very familiar. I've wrote some of the standards and shit like that. So for me, that's clear. So the objective is clear. Here are the things. Here is the future. And the future is going to be this. What is the solution? The solution in my mind is maybe I'm biased. Blockchain could be a solution.
Last question before I let you leave. What does success for Panther Protocol look like in this 3-year time frame that you mentioned?
So literally, I would like for at least, 1 or 2 institutions or possibly, the people who really are interested in both sides of the fence, right? What I call both sides of the fence is DeFi and traditional finance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And them at least testing the waters.
Okay.
The thing I described where the world would be in 3 years' time, I don't think it's going to happen right immediately like that, right?
Yes.
There'll be a lot of resistance.
It's not linear. Nothing is ever linear. So
No, there will be a Kodak moment. A bunch of guys are going to go down. I don't want to be, a casualty in the Kodak incident, right? Yes. So what I want is I want this transitioning to happen So they can access DeFi. So a bunch of institutions that actually are interested in accessing DeFi, who understand what is coming down the pipeline. That's the best ones, because they can actually leverage Panther to the level that I think is the next level, which is like, you have a bunch of mechanisms to just access DeFi, but not just DeFi. You can do transactions straight up. Your transaction pipeline could be just another interface for Panther. And for Panther, it doesn't matter whether inside or outside, it does the same thing, right? You do all your transaction, you do all your settling, everything is done in private. You can use a public chain, so you don't have to do any of these things. You get KYC, you do KYT, you can do SARs, which is like a suspicious activity reports. All the things could be done. So to me, a new bank who really understands LLMs and Gen AI and understands the future of finance would be like the pipe dream.
Okay. Wow. Amazing. Dr. Anish, thank you so much for joining me today. You just blew my mind. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and Panther Protocol, where can they do that?
Oh, it's easy. You can either go to panther.org, which is the foundation, which is where everything is going to go to. And pantherprotocol.io, that's where, most of the development documentation is there. And you can find me on all the normal usual places, Twitter and other places.
I will put all the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. And we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Like a breakthrough glass, you run in circles, but you'll never last. I trace your footsteps through the empty streams, a haunting silhouette inside your dreams. You think you're hidden, safe behind the screen, but I am the darkness between the unseen. You breathe in silence, but I taste your fear. I am the whisper that's always near. In this digital jungle where secrets keep, I'm the panther stalking while the city sleeps. Through the noise, through the screen I crawl, entangled in my run, I watch you fall. You can't see me in this electric rain. I slip through your fingers like drops of pain. You try to find me, but I disappear. I'm the ghost in the wires, feeding off your fear. Your world is shattered by the colder truth. This jungle's my kingdom, the end is proof. You think you're hidden, safe behind the screen, but I am the darkness between the unseen. You think you're hidden, safe behind the screen, but I am the darkness between the unseen. You breathe in silence, but I taste your fear. I am the whisper that's always near. In this digital jungle where secrets keep, I'm the panther stalking while the city sleeps. Through the noise, through the screen I crawl, entangled in my run, I watch you fall. I watch you fall. You can't see me in this electric rain. I slip through your fingers like drops of pain. You try to find me, but I disappear. I'm the ghost in the wires, I watch you fall. Your world is shattered by the colder truth. This jungle's my kingdom, the end is proof. You search for comfort, but there's none to find. I'm already in you, tangled in your mind. You breathe in silence, but I taste your fear. I am the whisper that's always near. In this digital jungle where secrets keep, I'm the panther stalking while the city sleeps. Through the noise, through the screen I crawl, entangled in my run, I watch you I am the shadow you'll never see. I am the darkness where you can't be free. In this jungle of circuits, I take what's mine. I'm the predator hunting in real time.